Hello and welcome to this AMA on servers.com. We have an all-star lineup for you as always. Angelo from Protocol Labs, as well as James from servers.com, as well as many others from the solution architects from the servers.com team. There is no structured programming. This AMA was scheduled based on a series of questions and conversations from a previous storage provider working group call. So our goal today is to just reconnect on the servers.com offering, go through the particulars, the architecture, the components, the flow, and get all of your questions answered during our time here today. And with that, I will kick it off to the James and the servers.com team. So James, first and foremost, why don't you introduce yourself and the team today?
Yeah, great. So hi, I'm James. I'm not sure how many people here were on the call last week, but my role at servers.com is to be the Web3 specialist. So I'm essentially the account manager for all of our Web3 customers. And then on the call with me today, I've got Asgar and Ilya from our solution architecture team.
Hello.
All right. So I wanted to kick off the conversation with going back to the beginning. And just let's go through, like, how did you get to this point today from like a history perspective? And then let's spend some time just kind of quickly going over the offering, just to set the framework so everyone has the same story to build off as we go into more of the technical questions.
Okay, cool. So I'll start right from the very beginning then. So essentially I was hired at servers.com to sort of build out the go-to-market for Web3 and crypto in general. I heard about Filecoin from someone in my network when I was doing some networking at an event in London. He was essentially stuck because he was looking for a monthly sort of as a service hosting provider for Filecoin, and he couldn't find anybody in the market. So based on that conversation, I reached out to some of the solution architects, the people in Angelo's team, to explore if we could build something for that. And as it turns out, it seemed like there was actually a need that was felt sort of across the community. So we've been partnering with directly. Well, I've been working directly with Angelo for about a year now to kind of build that ready-made solution for Filecoin storage providers in order to kind of eliminate as many barriers as possible for new people coming into the ecosystem and hopefully grow the network as much as possible.
Awesome. So if we could just transition into, I know we covered this to a degree, but given that some people weren't on the working group call, how do we just give a high-level overview of the offer so we can set the table for where to dive in technically for the group here today?
Okay, yeah. So the offer is essentially there's a range of bare metal servers that we've sort of predefined, got our sort of our vendor pipeline set up for that. So and that includes all of the different elements from sort of like a very lean sort of all-in-one solution that would just be an all-in-one server with SATA storage attached, to sort of a much more sort of on the other end sort of more robust solution that includes boost, daemon miners, PC1, PC2s, all of the different elements that you'd need to build a Filecoin storage solution of any size.
All right. With that, I do want to, Angelo, any color commentary you'd like to add on the offering, whether it's from your storage provider perspective or your solution architect's perspective before we open it up for questions?
Maybe a quick addition to what James mentioned is that, yes, we tackle the sealing pipeline, but it's more externally to the offering that servers.com is bringing. So we're using sealing as a service. So the entire sealing pipeline would be handled externally. So we're talking about a solution for running the daemon node, the Lotus scheduler, basically the miner node, and then the boost node to handle all the traffic going in and out and making sure everything gets sealed and scheduled the right way. And then we look at sealing as a service kind, basically to fill in for the sealing pipeline. Just see those things really separately. That's all.
All right.
I have a
Let's
question.
get into it. Go for it. Just everyone, if you do have a question, just raise your hand and we'll get to you in that order. So appreciate it. Okay, Hassan, go for it.
So I have several questions, but I'm going to start with the latest note that Angelo said. So when you said think of those as separate, is the sealing going to be done by a different entity outside the servers.com facility, or is it within the same?
It is going to be a separate facility. Yes, the whole separate data center altogether.
Okay. I'm coming at this from a little bit of a different angle. So, I'm working with DLTX, and we're no stranger to the Filecoin ecosystem. We already have several miners online active, and we are considering some options of either starting new miners or, if possible, migrating some. So I was wondering if anyone has been able to do that kind of migration from their own miners hardware to yours, and if not, is this something that can be considered?
I can give you my perspective on it.
Yeah,
We
please.
haven't done a migration yet, so that would be a very interesting use case to look at. I did some migrations before, not to servers.com, but to other bare metal solutions or some bare metal you bought. So I can definitely give you some steps that you need to take along the way to make that happen. But looking at the offering that we put together at servers.com together with James, it's definitely possible. And the fun thing or the good thing about it is that we package something together that you can run all the stuff that I mentioned before, but it is fully customizable. So if you need something very specific for your specific workload, we can definitely customize that and then look at how that migration path would look like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point Angela made at the end there. The price spec and everything that we've done, it's done for convenience sake, mostly for people who are new to the ecosystem. But people, such as yourselves, who are very clued up and kind of know what you're doing already, we have the capacity to be flexible, change the configurations around, and build something that's quite bespoke for you on top of the ordinary offering.
Yeah, and then we're free to either do the sealing ourselves. I'm assuming we'll have complete access to the servers remotely, where we can just do whatever we want as in terms of operations and management
Absolutely.
of the miners and all that. Okay. And then we also have the option of using sealing as a service on top of that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. It's even, Hassan, it's even possible that you migrate the functionality that we talked about to servers.com and keep your sealing pipeline that you have today, so you can combo with hybrid even if you want. That's all possible. So it all depends on network connectivity, which we have good partners for as well, if you want to look at that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add that final point, so I think in terms of we haven't done any migrations yet. We announced this partnership like a couple of weeks ago, so it's still brand new. We are already in conversations with a couple of storage providers who are thinking of coming onto our network. But one of the advantages that I think we have is the direct collaboration with people like Angelo and Protocol Labs. So I know I've spoken to Angelo about this, and the team at Protocol Labs are ready to be sort of hands-on and help getting those first few customers on board and support you from the technical side. Is sort of what I mean.
All right. Question from my end. How is storage handled in the way that so is it private per miner per SP, or is it a shared pool of storage where you might have competing IO loads?
It is completely your own. So it'll be your own dedicated storage array, your own dedicated disks. We can even put it in your own dedicated rack for you if you want. But all of the bandwidth, all of the connectivity is exclusively yours. So it's your own dedicated servers, your own dedicated storage, your own dedicated connections to the internet. So you're not fighting with anyone for bandwidth or anything like that.
I remember you talked about how much you can provide in terms of bandwidth. I just forgot the number.
So in terms of server, we have standard 10 gig cards on them, but we can go up to 25 gig for this particular offering that we have. So we have multiple data centers throughout the world that we do. We have a global private network, so east and west traffic is available and free of charge, and obviously north and south facing traffic as well. So it's really looking at your requirements and working out which is the best for you. But kind of as our standard, we do two 10 gig interfaces on our public network and two 10 gig interfaces on our private network. So, and obviously we have a connectivity to outbound management, so you can get iDRAC and access to the server to look at it from the buyer's point of view and change any parameters you want to change with that. So typically we give you full access to the server to configure it and to enhance it or kind of do the stuff that you need to do that specifically for your industry and for you as a customer.
Yeah.
All right, Dinesh, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. In terms of sealing provider options, is that open in the sense that you bring your own sealing provider or seal yourself, or do you have somebody that you've sort of pre-integrated with?
No, it's completely agnostic. So you can plug into whatever sealing as a service provider you want.
Okay, brilliant. And then, sorry, I've got three more questions, if I may. In terms of data transfer, you said you've got a private network, and I can see you've got 10 locations worldwide. Could you perhaps talk through how we'd be able to move customer data from one geographic location to wherever we're hosting the storage?
Yeah, so are we talking about our ecosystem? Yeah, so we're talking about our network. The 10, in terms of architecture, we use spine and leaf architecture from a networking perspective. So that gives us a very fast network to move data east and west. So that minimizes the number of hops and gives us a greater latency between our data centers. So yes, the answer to that, as long as they belong to one customer, moving traffic, east and west traffic is not an issue within our ecosystem and our data centers, if I've understood your question correctly.
Can I add something to that, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, Angela, please.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but so if you look at it from the perspective of like Service.com is like positioned globally, if you have like, for instance, a customer in, let's say, Europe, and you would spin up like a very simple node at Service.com, and you run your entire storage provider business in the US, you could like locally first mile, right, where it is the fastest in Europe, you can transfer everything to that server, and then use their backbone network at high speed to move it to the US, and you can like kind of leverage that any way you want. The only thing is, of course, you'll have to have presence in those two locations, but you can go for a very simple machine because all of them have 10 gig connectivity, so you kind of mix and match that together. That is a little bit more custom, but you could leverage their backend network that way to move data really fast. Maybe that gives some color to your question.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was trying to get at. So yeah, that helps. Thank you. And in terms of locations, is this available across all 10 locations, and will there be new locations coming up?
Yeah, there is. So this will be available in all of our locations. Well, with the only two caveats is that two of our locations are what we would consider, like for example, our second location in Luxembourg and one of our second locations in Washington have less redundancy. So we wouldn't recommend those locations, but we still have, data centers in all around the world that would work. And we're opening a new location in Sao Paulo, Brazil, hopefully later this year.
Okay, brilliant. And so am I correct in reading that you've got 10 locations globally? Is that?
So it's
10 cities rather.
Yeah, 10 cities, correct.
10 cities,
So, for example, when I mentioned those 2 locations, we like to double up, so you have redundancy within those cities. So, say for example, you wanted all of your servers within Amsterdam, we can have 2 physical locations for physical redundancy within that one location.
Fantastic. And last question, won't hold this longer, but in terms of costs or pricing, is that something you might be discussing during this call, or would that be on a case-by-case basis, both on hosting and connectivity and
Yeah,
so on?
so there is a pricing document which I've shared with Porter. If you want to reach out to me after the call, I can send that over to you directly.
Okay.
Essentially a sheet with all of the different specs and the associated prices.
Okay. You might be
Any
able to share
chance you
your
could just do
email
a
or
quick
Slack or
screen
something.
share of that, James?
Sorry, what was that, Porter?
Any chance you could just do a quick run through and screen share on that doc?
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Well, I have a question that can easily fill that gap. So do you guys have any Filecoin customers already?
Not yet, but like I said, it's brand new. So we publicly announced this 2 weeks ago in Paris. We are, like I said, in negotiations with a couple of storage providers already, but at this point in time, it's brand new, and you guys are kind of hearing about it first. Can everyone see my screen? Did that share successfully?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
So here are the specs and the associated prices. This is actually going to get updated soon. We're adding an option for a sort of a 5-year plan, which would be sort of even more cost effective on a month-to-month basis. But as you can see, there's some different elements here that you can pick and choose to create the storage solution of your preferred architecture. You have 2 options for storage, which is like a small storage array and then a large storage array with 60 and 24 18 terabyte SATAs. That's actually a typo. That should just say SATA there. But yeah, look, happy to share this with anyone who wants their own copy of it after the call. Cool. Well, like I said, I'm on the Filecoin Slack channel, and I can Porter's got all of my details as well. So if anybody wants to get in touch, I can send you all of this stuff over email or whatever, Telegram, Discord, Slack, whatever you prefer.
I know this isn't the most technical questions, but Angelo, we got a mix of like new storage providers on this call and existing players that may be interested in scaling to different geos or just scaling in general. And you kind of, when you look at this type of offering, where does your mind go, or what are the questions that you are trying to answer for your own business, and how does that relate to an offering such as this?
So the whole conversation that I started with James is lowering CapEx and OpEx for storage providers, because I think that's one of the big struggles that a lot of people have. And it comes down to having good connections with like data center providers or compute and storage providers. And the pre-selection is done, and servers.com does it more in bulk. So all these small things added together optimizes for CapEx and OpEx. And it kind of, for your first step into the ecosystem, lowers the barrier of entry. Like, you don't need to look for a data center, which that's pre-selected for you. The internet provider is done, redundancy is done for you. So you're up till the operating system, a lot of help is being offered, while also lowering a lot of costs. Because if you look at CapEx, that's obfuscated, right? You're looking at a completely OpEx model, which makes it very clear. And also, you don't need to put on a lot of hours into your research up to that stack, which you can then focus on the Filecoin stack itself. So that's kind of how I looked at it from the beginning. I don't know if that answers your question, Porter.
Yeah, and when I first saw this offering, as I look at the ecosystem today, it's really, to me, what I got excited about is, let's have an honest conversation if I'm a storage provider on where my special sauce is. And it's okay if it's not on, it's okay to outsource this part of your business if that's not where your unique value add is. Or, we're seeing a rise of the people focus on building client pipeline and frankly just selling. And that requires a lot of work and maybe labor, that may be the best use of your time. And I love all opportunities where storage providers can put more emphasis on where they're adding value for their network and their business. And if it's not on, managing this hardware component, then outsource it. So that was my perspective. Bob, you had a question or comment?
I had a question in mind, but actually Jacques wrote it on the chat. It's the same question. What about the supranational codes that is optimized for sealing? Are you guys working towards such a solution as well?
I can take that one. Thanks, Bob and Jack, for putting that in there. So if you look at it like as of today, like Bob, you worked on that as well. We have a Lotus automation part that you can run on top of infrastructure as a service. That's also how we looked at this solution at first, right? Like service.com does it up till the operating system. You still need to, configure everything above that. And it's a little bit similar to the supranational code that's coming out. As of today, there is no Lotus integration for that. And we're looking at running infrastructure as a service, like from service.com, and then putting on like an automation on top of that, or you install it manually, however you want. That's still up to you. So if there is code or for it available, yes, but it's the sealing pipeline. So I rather see this as you're running the stack like we discussed up till the sealing part, and then you do the sealing externally, which will have in time have the supranational optimization, but nothing like me. I mean, you can always have a conversation with James and tell him, look, this is the spec that I need for the supranational setup, and they'll just make you an offering on hardware spec, and you can just run it there. No problem at all.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the call, if there's something that you're not seeing on that sheet that you would like from us, like just talk to us. I think one of the reasons that this partnership took off is because we're a very flexible business. I have direct access, unlike other hosting providers. I have direct access to our C-level. So if there's something weird or bespoke that you'd like us to build for you, we're happy to do it. And we'll send you a price and let you know sort of exactly how much that's going to cost, and then you can make your own decision.
Maybe I can add a little bit more to that, to Jack's question, is that, and Bob's, is that we do have some sort of an idea how those servers should look like, so we can definitely create an offering for that if there would be questions out of the ecosystem and if there is a need for it. And the same, it comes a little bit down to also what Stuart is asking. Like right now, it's a very specific choice, like not to offer sealing, and use that externally. The Lotus worker price, that is referred to the window and winning post worker and not to the sealing worker. I don't know if that answers your question, Stuart. But, sealing is externally from this solution. Oh, Danish has a good question. So why these config options that we're offering? So we looked into what it would take to run a 1-pip miner. That's kind of the base we went for. And we looked at what the hardware you need to run that system. And that's where this offering or config option comes from. And also learnings over the last 2 to 3 years of all the storage providers in the ecosystem. Bob also put this together in the storage provider docs if you want to go look at the reference architecture there. So it's kind of like learnings of all the things from the past to put this together. Now, this is always in motion, right? So if code gets optimized and things get faster, or you need some sort of a newer build, James will be updating their infrastructure as well based on our feedback or something they get from other storage providers. Is always an evolving thing.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that last point. We update our stock all the time. We're currently going through a large process globally of replacing all of our 7,400 epics with the 9,300s. So it's we typically always look to get the latest cutting edge hardware because it lasts the longest. So yeah, if stuff updates, we can be flexible.
We have a question in the chat. Will you have any partnerships with Phil lenders in the near future? If no, would you consider it?
Yeah, consider it. is just so I understand the question properly, is that so sort of, to get new storage providers might need a loan of Phil to get up and running?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that probably encourages people to go for it, because you'll get the fill that you need to do as pledge or collateral.
Yeah, absolutely something we would consider. Let's catch up after the call, Hassan.
Yeah, definitely add some compelling elements to your offer if that were the case. Final questions. Will you be running your own storage? From Jeanette.
So servers.com, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about what Porter was saying about focusing on the things that you do well, and we can focus on the things that we do well. We work, we're a Web2 business. We work across a whole range of industries, including gaming, streaming, advertising, Forex trading, and Web3. We don't develop games, we don't post adverts, and we're probably not going to start mining any cryptocurrencies or storing on Filecoin. What we do well as a business is setting up and running enterprise high quality data centers. And yeah, even though never say never, right? But it's certainly not something that's on the roadmap at this point.
Would you be open to a testing partner with the new supranational ceiling pipeline?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I need to learn some more about what the supranational ceiling pipeline is, but yeah, happy to collaborate and find out more about it.
Well, going once for additional questions. Best way to contact. You want to drop some of your Slack handle name or email in the chat real quick?
Yep. So I'll just go put it in the chat. That's my email. I am also available. I don't know what my Slack. I think my Slack handle in the channel is just James Purton. So you can find me there very easily. I'll just put my full name in there as well, so you've got that.
I checked.
I'm also
you're the only James Purton in Filecoin. So with that, we're going to cut this off. I encourage you to reach out to James and the servers.com team if you have further questions. As you can tell from today's chat, they are open to many different things. And welcome to the ecosystem. Hope you guys check out and learn more. Thank you all.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.